No, I think he's saying one more, okay, we're good. All right,
All right,
very good. Thank you.
problem. Thank you. My name's Jeremy Schmidt. I'm with Counsel for Defense. About 3 minutes before I walked through that door, I didn't know I was going to be doing this presentation. Unfortunately, Mr. Mason is out ill, but I know this is extremely important to him. And I would just say that the very fact that I'm standing here in front of you goes to show how bare bones our office is. I'm not management. We don't really have management. We have Scott, who is in charge of the office, and the rest of us are attorneys or staff. So forgive me if this isn't as polished as the previous presenters. A, they're a lot smarter than me, and B, they had a little more time. So I will try to go quickly. I understand that I am in between you guys in a break. And a lot of the things that have been touched on has been touched on by the previous presenters. The fact is criminal filings aren't going to stop. The other fact is we have to provide defense. I know that our slides are in there. We're just a small piece of this criminal justice pie, but it is an important one, and it's a very limited budget to do a lot. Obviously, everyone has the right to an attorney. Mr. Krasinski touched on that, and you're all aware of that. Conflicts, and that's what we come in. We're a special office because the public defenders can't represent everyone that comes in, particularly when there is a conflict either between defendants or for various other reasons. Someone has to go out of their office, and the idea was they need to go somewhere. Conflicting cases out is expensive to private counsel, and we saw that, and Mr. Krasinski touched on those issues of why. And for that very reason, we have our office. The basic premise of this entire presentation is this. Counsel for Defense was created for the sole purpose of saving the county money. If our budget is cut, we can save you less money. It's a very simple idea. Since 1997, that's what we've been doing. We have had no net gains in staff throughout that entire time. We're operating with the same number of people in our office for the last 20 years. And I have to imagine that's fairly unique considering the growths and ebbs and flows. We have gained attorney and lost an attorney, lost an investigator spot. Ultimately, we have the same about 10 people that have been there. This is our office. This is everything right there. I don't have a rows of people behind me that are helping and supporting us. Diane Mueller is with me today, our office manager, and really keeps us going on a day-to-day level. Scott Mason is our attorney director, and the important thing to note about him is he carries a full caseload. So he's taking normal percentages of cases just as any normal staff attorney would do, just as we all do. Otherwise, we have one investigator, one paralegal, one secretary, things that we have to function. Budget is almost completely tied up in employee salaries. We don't have a lot of other operating costs, $27,000 about. So the only way to reach a $84,000 proposed cut is to terminate an employee. And then the question is, then who or why? Which individual? Basically, the only people you could cut to reach that amount would be an attorney or an investigator. Fact is that we have to have an investigator based on the caseload standards. We only have one. We can't function the office with the loss of the support staff just from a practical standpoint. Everyone that came up here had a paralegal or an assistant or someone that's associated with them. We saw on Mr. Haskell's presentation that that's an important part of running any program. So basically, we'd have to cut an attorney. Cut an attorney, you lose more money than you save. If you're trying to save, we talked about caseload standards. Mr. Krasinski did a nice job of helping us understand that. So we are well within, we absorb about 150 cases per felony attorney and 250 for our juvenile attorneys. That means that if you were to cut a position, about 150, it'd have to likely be a felony attorney, 150 cases would have to go. I think as an interesting point in our cases, as Mr. Krasinski also pointed out, we get quite a lot of more serious cases. Last year I handled about 60-some most serious offenses, strike-type offenses, which I believe is more than anyone else did in the county. last year. And so that's just the type of cases we get. You know, you don't often see conflicts necessarily on simple possession cases that Mr. Haskell talked about. We see them in major felony cases. And a great portion of those, then 150 of those would have to go out to private counsel, and Mr. Krasminski helped us understand the issues. We're looking at, I know you have all these slides, so I won't read those, but you can see that the increased cost would be greater than any cuts. If you're trying to save $84,000 by cutting an attorney, it ends up costing you baseline $210,000 to have those cases absorbed by private counsel. There are things that we would try and do. You know, there's some M&O things we could try and eliminate. This basically refers to attorney CLE, continuing education, which we have to get, but if we had to cut somewhere, that would be an area we could certainly attempt to do. Otherwise, we just don't have room in the budget. We are bare bones. We are people, and that's about it. We have to assume that the crime rates are going to continue. Mr. Krasminski helped us understand that Spokane's filings are higher than just about anywhere else in the state. I don't see that going down. I don't see the community wanting to see that going down. They want to see crime reduced, but they don't want to see people not prosecuted. They want the community to be safe. And as such, crimes have to get prosecuted. By law, those people have to be defended. So that is not going to change. I think that it's a really good point that Mr. Krasminski makes is if you want to save money, better off having another office like ours, because by our very nature, we save money. Continue to do so at our current levels if we have to. Frankly, if you want to save more money, if we had another attorney, we could probably take on more cases. However, I think right now we can continue to save the county money. We will do whatever we need to do. Ultimately, of course, we understand that this is a difficult time. You all have a difficult job, and you support our community very well, and we are hoping to continue to do the same. Any questions?
Questions? No?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay. So when's our next presentation? 10:45. Okay. So we are going to go into recess for approximately 12 minutes. We'll reconvene at 10:45. Thank you.